as artists, we are constantly trying to get better at our art. That's what we do. And as musicians, we spend the bulk of our lives in the practice room, by ourselves, trying to play our instruments better and to make the music come alive. Our brains are what enable us to do that. From my perspective, if you don't understand how your brain works and how it learns optimally, you're going to waste a lot of time in the practice room. There is something about music, the physicality of playing is very appealing to me. And that's part of what makes it challenging. Both hands are constantly moving around. Your brain has to physically change, which means reconstructing itself. New neurons have to communicate, or neurons that were communicating before have to communicate in a kind of new way. And that is the first step in getting better at something. I'm Dr. Molly Gebrian. I'm the viola professor at the University of Arizona, and I also have a background in neuroscience. I had sort of been doing this intersection between music and neuroscience, and I started to realize that what I was learning in my neuroscience and psychology classes about learning and memory in general were applicable to practicing. You know, I would learn things about good study habits, for instance, and I would realize, wait a minute, I wonder if this applies to music. One of the things I talk about a lot is the way in which we should schedule and order our practice in terms of taking strategic breaks, but also in terms of mixing things up. It's what's known as interleaved or random practice. I do a lot of talking about mental practice and the benefits of mental practice, and then also just sort of learning and memory in general. How do we learn things optimally? How do we memorize things? How do we commit things to memory? One of the really unique things about me as a teacher is I combine these things and bring it to my students. That's something that I would say no other teachers do in the way that I can, because I have the science background. Hey, Gabby.
Hi, Molly.
We're in here today.
Okay.
I got a bigger room for us.
Sounds good.
So we've talked about working memory before, right?
Yes.
I'm sure we have, right?
Yes.
So that's a place like you just have to rely on muscle memory.
Okay, yeah.
How did that feel?
It felt okay.
I mean, whenever you learn anything new, you're not very good at it at first, right? You feel clumsy, you feel awkward, it doesn't work very well. For instruments, it doesn't sound very good. And that's because the neurons in your brain aren't communicating well. And so when we practice, we are creating new pathways. That was awesome.
Yeah,
That was
great.
awesome.
Okay.
So you know you can play that.
Yeah.
Can we actually, can we do those mental practicing? Can you do 84 in your head first?
Okay.
Mental practice in a nutshell for musicians is hearing and feeling inside your head without actually doing something, everything you have to hear and feel when you play the instruments. It works because when you mental practice, you're using the same parts of the brain as when you actually physically practice. How'd that feel?
It felt good. I got a little mixed up at the 15-16, but I felt
A tiny bit, but that was hands down the most solid. I've heard that section. Nice. Applying the neuroscience knowledge is a way to be a better, more impactful, more consistent performer. have my first solo recital since before the pandemic. This was a project that was supposed to happen in 2020, so it's been a long time coming. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be playing 3 late Romantic era cello sonatas that were written by women composers.
Okay. So no stopping no matter what, right?
Yeah. This program is tiring. Okay. Are we ready? My overriding goal in life is to share my knowledge of learning and memory with musicians to allow musicians to practice and perform the way they want to. The skills that I try to teach my students, they apply to everything in life. The way you get better at an instrument, the way you manage your time so you make sure you get your practicing in, the way you break down a very difficult piece into small, manageable goals. All of those things apply to all of life. And learning and growing can be frustrating, right? It doesn't feel good all the time, but that is the feeling of learning. That's one of the biggest things, is not to fear that feeling and not to run away from that feeling, but to stay with that feeling.
Did you do something different that time?
Yeah, I took a little more time the first time that I don't normally do. I won't do that.